You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Thank you. We will open the October meeting of the Community Preservation Committee without a quorum, meaning that this is not a official meeting, but an informational only meeting. So we're going to share some information. We've had some challenges getting the full slate tonight. So we won't be able to take any votes unless we get 2 more members. We have 3 presently. So that being said, we're going to skip over the meeting minutes discussion. I will present some information on the next agenda item, which is a town meeting update. The special town meeting for the town is on November 3rd. There's no warrant article specific to the CPC on it. However, there is a request to form a Parks and Recreation Committee. And that may require us to change our bylaw for the CPC, which specifically calls for the Recreation Committee, which is what we had at the time. You know, it's well within the that's preferred to have a Parks and Rec Committee. So we'll just have to make sure that that's okay if it does pass going forward. Okay. And under the next item, which is CPC Finances, we did submit our CP3 report, which is required by this to the state by September 15th, and that makes sure that we're not held up in getting our next state match, which is now typically November 15th or so. It used to be October 15th, that 100% match for this year. And that just requires updating the projects that, status the old, add the new. Continuing forward. Under current projects, the Baldwinville Elementary project is going forward. The proponents of that are going to the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent hearing, which is at their next meeting, which is, I believe, October 18th. And that's where they'll talk about, any kind of requirements Concom would have upon the project going forward. They're still in the process of securing funding. And, obviously that's a big project and we know that's going to take some time to roll. The Riverside project has gone forward. That is at 4 Elm Street, where the open space was created by taking down the old town building there and also cleaning up the asbestos, etc. And so a conservation area has been created there, and they went out for bids to finalize the park. And there were some remaining funds in the CPC project. The bids came in at greater than the CPC remaining budget. So the Board of Selectmen have asked that the overage, which I believe is around $12,500, would be perhaps appropriated by the town at the special town meeting from free cash. So if that happens, then that project can be completed and closed up.
The bids were in.
Yeah, there were two bidders that I'm aware of, and they were both about the same amount, and it was more than the residual funds that they had, which, a lot of that got chewed up by.
There's quite a bit of money left.
There was about, there was 30, I don't have the figures right in front of me.
We had 38 on here.
Yeah.
I think we talked about
And
35.
There was 35, and then we had additional expenditure related to the design and engineering documents that was brought that down. And so we'll wait till town meeting to find out what the results are of that. The Grange Hall projects are going forward. We've, there are 2 basically open jobs there. One was specifically to do the ramp for the means of egress to make it ADA compliant. The Historical Society is the proponent of that. They've gotten some bids and some cost estimates to complete that project. Unfortunately, as a lot of people are finding with the cost of everything going up, that bid came in approximately $1,500 more than they had in the funds. So that would, if that was the only source of funding, then they would have to change the scope or fundraise or something. However, since they do have that other warrant article from November of 2019, which was for $43,400, which was for the continued rehabilitation and preparation of design documents for Grange Hall. That the overage for the ramp project also fits within that scope, as I see it. And therefore, my recommendation would be that we were to allow that overage to be covered by that second bit of money. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I don't know if any of that work has been,
There's been a small amount of work with, you mean,
On the second.
on the second project, but
I don't
there's
know
certainly,
whether that's gonna, what's that gonna affect the,
well, I did let Brian Tangway know, and he seemed to agree that that would be a good approach.
okay.
We would certainly check with the town and confirm that, there's no challenges to that. But whereas the article is fairly vague in that it discusses the continued rehabilitation, which that certainly is, because that rehabilitates the building for future use and ADA accessibility. So that's very important. Okay, so then under potential projects, a couple of things have been discussed. The Otter River Park, where Houghton Park is, where the old school used to be, and there is a ball field. There has been discussion of developing a comprehensive plan to introduce a Heroes Park there. We had originally talked about having what would be specifically a Veterans Park for Elm Street. That didn't come to pass for a variety of reasons, where specifically that being a conservation area was one of them. So the discussion has been to bring in the Heroes Park, which would also honor first responders and other, people beyond, like fire and police, EMTs, in addition to military. So it'd be called the Heroes Park. Rehabilitation of Houghton Park and any other grounds and improvements that might need to be made. There was a group of representatives from the town, Adam, the town administrator, and Bob from DPW, along with some reps from the light company were there, along with Sheila, the veterans agent, and Jackie Prime with recreation, just to kind of talk about it, because the light committee has volunteered some money because Roger Houghton was a light commissioner, amongst many other things, a firefighter. And so they've already done some cleanup work up down there. It looks really nice compared to what it was before, but that was, cleaning up the graffiti and the trash and putting a coating on some of the brickwork in the gazebo. But where I'm going with this is that there was a discussion about to move forward, we would have to have a plan, but what we really need is to have a survey to ensure we know all of the meets and bounds, because that was a problem that caused at Riverside, which everybody assumed was an easy, delineation of boundaries, and then found out it wasn't. So it needed to be surveyed after all. And I think we're going to see that just about in every parcel of land that we do work on, whether it's town owned or whomever. So I had indicated I could bring it to this board for a request for not to exceed expenditure for a survey. However, without a quorum, we're not going to be able to do that tonight. So I'll report back to them to see if they can find an alternative means to fund that first step, because that's something that can be done at any time now, providing you can get a surveyor, before the snow flies. And then that's one step closer. The next step would likely be to talk about, design and engineering. What would it be? What would it take? So that we would then know what people want to do and what it might cost if we were to come to if this was to come to a community preservation funded project, say next May or whenever.
I guess I just didn't understand that, the business about, we had originally talked about that as a veterans park, and that was not acceptable, or is that?
The reason that it was expanded from veterans to heroes is that there's already a park and a monument honoring Roger Houghton as a firefighter.
Oh, at that site.
at that site.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And so it would mean, so that was one approach. Now that's, no decisions have been made.
Okay.
However, it was discussed that it would be nice to survey the land, which,
Mhm.
is hard to argue against, given that that'll slow everything down if you don't know what you have. Obviously, there would be a lot of time for discussion about what the actual, would go into the plans and what the design would be. So it's the first step. But we're not going to be able to vote on anything, so I just wanted to share that with everybody. Did I get the door? No. Additionally, as I brought to our attention last month, that the cemetery commissioners are looking at a project behind the First Church at the common burial grounds. And they're getting pricing and things like that. Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
So
Sorry
Joanne,
about that.
yeah, that's okay. So Joanne Burton is on the phone. We are still in an informal session. I'm just sharing information because there's only three of us. Or you can probably see Dennis, Carey, and I, so we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
So I'm reviewing we've had some requests, but we're not going to be able to act on a request for a survey at the Otter River Place. There's also been a discussion of a project behind the common burial ground where we've already done the tomb restoration, a wonderful project that was heavily funded in addition by the Historic Commission, in addition to CPC, as well as that Jackson Memorial, which was also funded significantly by the veterans veterans. I don't know, it was Civil War, so it was American
Civil War.
veterans. I don't think it was DFD, Veterans of Foreign Wars, because that wasn't here. But anyway, those are both Alan Mayo projects. Thankful to him. But now the cemetery commissioners now want to look at another project to restore and protect sites there. So they're getting some estimates of what it would take. There'd be huge challenges in trimming the trees back there because of the slope and the stones, etc. But one suggestion had been to get a sign to replace the sign that's there, which is not a permanent sign, but to get something that is more fitting for the setting, and which could enumerate the projects. And so they've gotten some pricings on that for a wooden one that could cost as much as $5,000. They asked if there were monies. I'd indicated that we do have an administrative budget that might be used for some of these types of project starting or ending type activities. So now we have that potential for up to 5,000, and then we have this survey request for up to 3,000. So that's 8,000 of a $20,000 budget. So it is a significant portion. We're going to have to table all this to our next meeting, which we're going to try to schedule separately at the end of this meeting. So those are the items that I had to bring up. And any new or old business, anything you guys would like to bring up?
You haven't heard anything from the First Church about their need for CPC funds for some project they have in mind?
No, I have not.
Okay. I think we will be approached concerning that.
Certainly, we will need to, ensure, we have done a project there on the exterior, which is, part of the community. There is often pushbacks from external organizations for interior projects with state and town monies, but, there's precedents, and then so we'll certainly look forward to chatting with them.
Okay.
And anything else anybody wanted to bring up?
No, nothing further from the Lions Club concerning the gazebo.
No, they're probably still trying to figure out who owns that as well. And I know there was, and I don't know if you were reached out about the the Common Improvement Committee or Society, who owns perhaps a parcel of land there where the Lions Club sell their Christmas trees. Did you ever get a call?
No,
See, I didn't know if you knew anything about that.
no, I didn't.
But that's not our business anyway. Okay, Joanne, anything you want to bring up or discuss?
No, I don't have anything, and I apologize. And my computer decided it was going to do a Windows update, and I'm like, right now, really?
Lucky we
Oh,
didn't.
I apologize.
No problem. One thing I did mention at the beginning is that at the special town meeting, one of the articles is looking into form a Parks and Recreation Committee, which would have a more expanded duty. You know, right now we have a cemetery commission, we have a rec committee. And so then that would likely become the seat, which would be, appropriate for the CPC. Our bylaws, indicates the rec committee because that's what we had when we formed it. So we may need to change our bylaw, but I don't think there's any conflict there because it's the same function. But that's about it. So the other thing that we talked about, our next meeting originally would have been Veterans Day. I have a conflict for the December meeting, so I'm looking to try to schedule a meeting that we can get a group of people, everybody to attend, and also post it as an annual needs meeting in the November, December timeframe. So I'm going to be doing a poll to everybody so that we could fix a date and time, check with, the town fathers and those responsible for this building, mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons. So as of right now, I'm inclined to cancel that Veterans Day meeting, which would be November 11th. And then work on getting another meeting, and Joanne, can you ever do a daytime meeting?
I can possibly on Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, and Carrie, can you do a day meeting, or
I
are you
mean, most of the time,
often?
yeah.
Okay, so it's not out of the question. We'll do a survey and we'll get a hold of everybody. And, Brad had said he couldn't make it tonight, and I know, so anyway, that's what we're gonna do for tonight. We're gonna wrap this informal meeting up and thank everybody for coming, and thank you to TCTV. We'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we really vote?
Aye.
Okay,